everyone. Today I'm going to show you how I solder this raven's feather. You can see a reflection. This is black iridescent glass. And when we work on something like this where we have some open areas where our iron is not going to be able to fit, before we solder it together, we need to go in and tin those areas where our iron won't be able to fit. And I'll show you why. Let me get my solder over here so I don't have to reach for it. Oop. All right. And the top of this piece as well, where those are close together. Move my iron. I don't like the angle I had it at. All right, put that back up there and that there. Now those are tinned on the edges in there because our iron won't be able to fit. And then we'll need to go in here. And then the top of that one on the edge. All right, set them back together. I don't always pin my sun catchers down, so that's why I keep adjusting. All right, I'm going to keep him separate right now. And let's tack those 4 pieces together. I'll put a little dot of flux down there too. All right. All right. Now I'm going to go ahead and flux the rest of it on the top. Let me adjust this a little bit, give you a little bit less reflection. All right, I always do the top edges first. Quit sliding around. And it does not take a lot of solder for that. And now I'm going to do my bead. Try and get an angle that you can better view it at. This tripod with the gooseneck on it that holds my phone that I use to record videos is new, so this is all a new way for me to show how to work on projects. And if I get quiet sometimes during my videos, it's because I'm used to listening to music while I'm working. If you're not sure about something that I'm doing, feel free to leave a comment and I can always respond to you that way if you have a question. These raven's feathers seem to be very popular in my Etsy shop. And some of these things I don't make multiples of. If it sells, I'm going to try and drop this solder out of this crack. I didn't want that much solder in there. There, I went from the back side and heated it up. Get it out of there. All right. All right, we have that done. Now I want to tack solder this on, this top part of the feather, just a tack, and I want that on there before I flip it over. Let me go ahead and flux and do the edge on top there. I do the hook a little bit different on this than I do with some sun catchers. I'm going to make a wire that will come from here up here and then have a loop on it. I've got a roll of 16 gauge tinned wire, and this roll is getting pretty old. There's not much left on it. And for my loop, I'm just going to use my flux brush, and I'm going to do a couple wraparounds. All right. And I'm going to cut it longer than I need. Ah, cute. Cut that down. Slide that off of there. I'm going to squeeze my loops together. And I'm going to cut off some excess up here. I think I need to take some WD-40 to my wire cutters. They're a little hard to open. All right. Straighten that out a little bit. And I just want it to come up a little bit over the tip. And I want it to come to about here with the wire. Now we're going to cut that excess off. All right, I'm going to get my other pliers. Metal conducts heat. It's always fun using both hands when you have to do something like this. And I want to see if I have my wire bent well enough to come along here, down to here. And it's pretty good. Now I'm going to flux that. All right. Grab some solder. Tack it on there. All right. And I think I'm going to bend it a little bit. Wire's hot. I want to bend it closer to that top feather. That's better. I wanted it to line up better with the edge of that. All right. Flux up there. And then I may as well flux the rest of this side of the feather. All right. Solder the wire to that foil up there. And flux around this edge. The top edges, well, we're on the bottom of the feather, back side of the feather. And now we can start adding some more and beading. All right. And we're covering up that wire nicely with a nice bead. And we'll bead the rest of this. If you noticed the fumes, you can see them blowing away. I have a little fan over on my cutting table that is facing this way, so it blows across my soldering table here. All right, let's have a look at it. All right, we can put a little bit more solder here. So it looks like a bead. Now some of that's seeping through. It's seeping through. That's better. All right, I will let this cool down a little bit. The glass is hot from soldering both sides. And then after it's cooled down, we will bead the outside edge. I'll be right back. All right, welcome back. I have let the glass cool down so I can hold it. And now let's begin beading the very outside edge. I'm just fluxing what we're working on first. It only makes sense if I flux the other side of it. The flux is going to drip off, so we might as well just flux on what we're working on at the moment. All right, the way I do this beading, I just grab what I need from the solder and I hold it level and just dab it on as I go around. If you feel more comfortable wearing gloves, please do. That is just something I have never done. I've worked with glass for over 40 years now. And there are a lot of things that I just do differently compared to people who are just starting out. I just do things the way I always have and the way I learned. Do it the way you feel more comfortable. Now remember, we've already tinned inside there, and I will just take my iron as far as I can get it. All right. Yeah, solder's not cooperating. Let's give it a little more flux. There we go. All right. Now let's get under there. I've already fluxed that, so we should be able to do okay. Got in there as far as I could with the iron. So remember, before you begin soldering some things, if you have open areas like this where you can't get your iron into, your iron tip, go in there first and tin it. Now some of you may be asking, why not bead that edge of the tip? I don't, because I've learned if I beaded it, the pieces will not fit together the way I want to when I set them back together to solder the whole piece. And then when you're doing any other soldering or beading on it, that solder will end up dripping off and going where you don't want it. That's why I just tin it. I'm not too worried about it when the whole piece is complete. All right, I've got that edge. Checking in here, I thought I saw a wrinkle. That's all right. This will be patinaed black too when I'm all done. All right, let's flip it over and bead the other outside edge. You can see how I'm trying to adjust the levelness of this as I go around to hold it level so I can get a nice edge bead. I'm going back because I'm seeing I'm seeing some humps. So I'm just heating up what's there and let it harden again. Yep, now I'm back to where I really can't get the iron in there. And I'm going to stop right there. Almost done, getting there. All right, I'm going to try to turn it around so we can get over here and make that look nice. I think trying to hold it at an angle that I can see what I'm doing and you can see what I'm doing. All right, we have quite a blob right there. I'm going to heat that up. Can you see that? Let's heat that up. Get that looking nice. All right, and I want to put some more up against our wire. Holding it still, you can see the solder cooling and setting. I didn't want to do anything else to it until it was done doing that. A couple little wrinkle right there. See if I can heat that up and get it to set nice. And in doing that, I bumped that a little bit. All right, let's see. Let's have a look at it. I'm going to put a little bit more solder right there, just because there's a little wrinkle there. And I see it on this side too. And there's a little copper foil that I'm going to trim off. Let's do that first. Always keep a razor blade handy. These disposable ones, I buy them by the dozen, and they come in handy on really all your work tables, no matter what you're doing. And it's still... Let me see if I can't cover that up with some solder. Usually I trim any excess foil while I'm doing the foiling and burnishing, if I notice some sticking out. All right. Now I talked about putting a little bit more there. Let's do that. All right. A little bit more there. And the reason I go and put extra flux on sometimes, every flux is a little different. This brand I'm using right now is, what brand is it? Studio Pro by Diamond Tech. It seems to evaporate. And it will kind of evaporate once you've went over it with your iron. So it doesn't... It evaporates, but yet there's still some residue on your foil and on your glass too that you, of course, will wash off. But there we go. You watched me solder this raven's feather. See this in here? I don't like that, so we're going to put some more solder there. We can just keep going over it and going over it. Sometimes you just have to call it quits if you keep fussing over it. All right, that looks nice. Hopefully we didn't get, nope, we didn't really get any seep through to cause it to look funny on that side. All right, this is done. I am going to clean it up. I like using warm water. I will take this to my sink. At warm water, Dawn dish soap on a sponge. And if you're using the same sink for doing your dishes and cleaning up your glasswork, keep one sponge for cleaning up your glasswork and a separate sponge for your dishes. So I'll use my sponge, get it wet with nice warm water and Dawn dish soap. I will rinse this off first, and this flux is good flux, and you'll notice when you run this under warm water, it does clean up nice and you'll see it nice and shiny. That's just running warm water over it. But then I'm going to take my soap with Dawn, or my sponge with Dawn dish soap, and in circular motions go around, and you'll be washing around everywhere you have solder to make sure you get the flux off it real well. Do both sides that way and do your outer edge. And then I lay it on, I use old bath towels and washcloths to do my polishing. I'll put this on an old towel, dry the excess water off of it, and I use turtle wax liquid. Now, I just made a mistake because I'm going to patina this. So we're going to wash it up, dish soap, rinse, patina. I use Novacan black patina. I'll do these in other videos because I'm just not set up to record over my sink yet to do things like that. Okay, we'll patina it. It patinas real well in black. And then once that's done, then I go over to my towels and I dry it. Black patina, let it sit for a few hours before you go in and clean it up. And with my black patinaed items, I don't use a thick or liquid wax, and I use turtle wax. I will use the light turtle wax spray on the black patina. If you use something thicker or thicker polish, metal polish, you won't have the nice black finish. You'll end up with a pewter finish. So I'll work on getting a better camera set up over my sink so you can watch me wash and patina and clean up. But those are just the steps I follow. I hope that helped you a little bit. I hope this whole project helped you a little bit in watching me solder it. When this is done and I have it patinaed and cleaned up, I'll show a picture or maybe short video of how it turned out at the end of this video. Thanks for watching so much. See you next time. Bye. And here it is, all done. I use Novacan black patina. And this is the wax I use on black patinaed items. It's a light coating, and it doesn't pull that patina out of your solder. And I also want to let you know that if you're interested in what glass I used, this is black iridescent that I got from Hobby Lobby. And those other small feathers, that is a bullseye glass. And here it is, so you can see the detail a little bit more. It is solid black and iridized, but has that special pattern. I will look up the color number and put it in this video. Again, this piece is bullseye. All right, again, thanks for watching. Bye.